welcome to our second Whatcha Reading Wednesday with our new format. Tanya again. I've got Mary and Brandy here with me, and we're going to be talking about Black authors for Black History Month. So we're just going to jump right in, and we're going to talk about Black authors we've read recently. And for me, I just this weekend, because it was a really quick read, I read A Taste of Honey by Kai Ashanti Wilson. And I'm a science fiction fantasy fan, and that's why I picked this one. I wasn't sure what to expect from it, but the structure of it is really cool. Like it's, there are scenes, so like day one, and then, and then following this character, and it's like then there's like age 24, and it's like so very different from where the beginning started. It's like, how did he get to this point? And it just keeps going back and forth. From like this 10-day period to like the rest of his life. And then there was a twist at the end, which I will not spoil, but I really liked it a lot. And for people who are into queer romance, it is a queer romance. So that's what I read. What about you guys?
Okay, so probably the most recent one I read, and this is a juvenile fiction, so it's middle grade readers, but this was a really wonderful story. I really like Jacqueline Woodson. She writes some really good books, and she writes across many different genres. In fact, I have one by her, Red at the Bone, that my book club, the Great Reads book club, is going to read this year, and it's an adult book. But this one is so good because this is about 6 middle grade kids that get sent to a weekly chat by themselves with no adults to listen in. It's called Harbor Me. And they are finding this safe place that they can discuss things that are going on in their lives. And it is really wonderful because they talk about racial profiling, they talk about deportation, they talk about all different kinds of things that are happening in their lives. And all I can say is it's a very wonderful read.
I read a lot of graphic novels, so I grabbed a couple that I had read recently. The first one is Bingo Love by T. Franklin, and she is a Black, queer, and disabled author, and it's this really heartwarming story of these 2 young teenage girls that meet and fall in love in the 60s, but are unfortunately forced apart by their family and society, but then they meet again decades later in their 60s and rekindle their love. So it was super cute, and it shows senior citizens in comics or graphic novels, which doesn't really happen very much, unless it's like a Uncle Ben situation to kind of further a storyline. And it just also shows that like happy ever afters are for anyone, really. And the other one that I've read recently was Lando, Double or Nothing, Star Wars. And this is specifically, obviously, Lando from Solo, Star Wars story, played by Donald Glover. So it's kind of funny because he keeps up a running dialogue of like how suave he is. And so that was kind of entertaining. But yeah, the graphic novels are a really good way that they can explore other characters who don't get a lot of screen time in the movies.
Yeah, I actually have some graphic novels on my list. So I know that I already talked about Check Please in our last one, and I know that Check Please has been brought up previously for other. I'm going to bring it up again because Ngozi Ukazu is a creator of color. She's awesome, and I'm not going to get into it because I have talked to her before. But the other graphic novelist that I like, and I'm going to probably say his name wrong, Roy Okupe. It could be Okupe. I actually met him at a library conference, and that's how I got interested in his books, and we added them to our library. His newest one, I just got, volume 1, is called Yanu, Child of Wonder, and he likes to write about African superheroes. And so he's got several different series, and this one I think is geared more towards young adult. But Yanu is the chosen one, and she has spiritual powers. She's great with a bow and arrow, which is, I like that because I like Hawkeye from, the Avengers, so that appealed to me a lot. And he's not the illustrator, but the illustrations are awesome in that one. And I am definitely going to be asking that we add that one to our library.
Yeah, I grabbed a couple other graphic novels just off our shelves here. Off the top of my head, that were by Black authors. Goldie Vance is one. It's a very cute Nancy Drew-esque kind of story. Black Panther, obviously. Always good to read more into those stories since we only had the one movie with Black Panther so far. And another one that I just heard about recently, Philadelphia. It's vampires. And I like me some vampire stories, so I'm going to be reading that one for sure.
Oh, that brings up Blade.
Oh, sure.
Unofficially, I feel like Blade kind of is the jumping off point for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like the success of Blade, kind of led to what we have now with all these movies.
Yeah, it was the movies that kind of started the comic book movie genre that didn't have that magic formula that they achieved later.
So I see that Mary has a pile of books. So Mary, did you want to talk about some more of your chosen titles?
Sure. And so, these books are already out, but some of them I got at a conference. I have started most of them. I haven't finished them yet. How Beautiful We Are by Mbolo Muguli. This is really good because it's about an African village, and they have a big American, I think it's oil company that comes in, and they are making their farmland infertile, and that's how they get a living, was through their farmland and stuff. And so the children are dying because the drinking water is not good. They're supposed to clean it up, but they don't do that, And so the leader of their government he kind of goes along with it because they're getting money from this company. And what happens is that the people of the African village decided to fight back against this big American oil company. And that's all I'm going to say, but it's good so far. What I've read, I've really enjoyed. And another one that a good author is Yasi. She wrote Homegoing, which my book club read a few years ago, which was excellent. This is her second book called Transcendent Kingdom. I have not read this one yet, but I'm expecting great things from her. I met her at a conference. She was very, very fun to listen to. Born in Ghana, but she was raised in Alabama. So, but yeah, I'll have to look for this one because this one's out, but it sounds really good. And another one is when we were at our last conference, we got to meet Stacey Abrams. And so this is one of her first books that was out. I think she has another one coming out soon. And believe it or not, she has some romance novels that she wrote a while ago that I believe we're trying to get into the library. So, yeah, check those out.
I did want to talk about authors that I've read in the past that I've really liked. Haven't read them recently. The biggest one is N.K. Jemisin. She wrote The 100,000 Kingdoms, an excellent fantasy novel. Just not kind of retreading all of those fantasy tropes. It was really enjoyable. And I've heard really good things about the 5th season that she wrote as well. Haven't gotten to read that one yet, but it's definitely on my list. And more science fiction fantasy authors, because that's how I roll. The Binti series by Nnedi Okorafor. Binti is another quick read. There are actually 3, and I want to say they're about this thick. So you could probably get through them in a weekend really easily. And then, since I am talking about science fiction and fantasy, I cannot leave out Octavia Butler. I've read Kindred. That was an excellent book. Wild Seed, which you might like, Brandy. It's got vampires in it. I know that I think her more well-known one is Parable of the Sower, which we have recently reordered because our copy had to be replaced. And I have to admit, I haven't actually read that one yet. But and that's all I have for the science fiction fantasy representation. Tori could not be here, but she would be so mad at me if I did not bring up Jason Reynolds. So I am going to recommend books by Jason Reynolds, even though I have not personally read any of his books yet. So if either of you have and would like to discuss that would be great.
I have read 2 books by Jason Reynolds, and they are fabulous, absolutely fabulous. Long Way Down, which is really good, and also All American Boys. And they deal with race relations, and he is just a fabulous author. He does a lot of good things with the schools and working with kids and stuff, and I can't say enough about him. He is absolutely one of the best authors. A book that my book club is going to read, and this one is came out in July, and this is called Memorial Drive, and it's a memoir by Natasha Trethani. I'm terrible at pronouncing name. Okay, anyway, so she had her world turned upside down when her former stepfather shot and killed her mother, and so this is how she gets through that. And the thing that's interesting about her is that she was the 19th Poet Laureate of the United States. So I have not read it yet, but I'm expecting it to be very lyrical, a very good book with wonderful literary phrases in it. So I haven't read it yet, but this is something to look for. And an old one that I have always wanted to read, and I have not read it yet, by Zora Neale Hurston, is Their Eyes Were Watching God. It was first published in 1937, and it's a classic of Black literature, and tells a story of a person who's evolving through 3 marriages, fair-skinned, long-haired, dreamy as a child, and just how her life goes and what happens to this person. So this is, like I said, a classic of Black literature and one to definitely look for. And if you're still onto YA, because it seems like I read a lot of YA, I like YA because YA, you lose out on some of that descriptive narrative stuff and you get right into the action of the story, which is, I think, why I really like it. This is called Dear Martin by Nick Stone, and Nick Stone is a really cool author. This guy decides to try to solve all the problems that he encounters by wondering what Martin Luther King Jr. would do. So that's how this story goes. She has another book also after this one, but this is her first one. But yes, very good.
Hi there. So I completely messed up the outro for the video. I had to refilm it, so here I am again. Hello. I don't have a fun outro, and I really need to come up with one, but instead you get this, which is, tell us what you've been reading. We'd love to hear it. And since I'm adding on to this video, I wanted to make a little statement. I spent some time thinking about this, and I just want to let our viewers know that Grand Forks Public is committed to diversity and inclusion throughout the year, and not just during the month of February. So to demonstrate that, we will be intentionally reading books by authors of color, for our Whatcha Reading Wednesday segments, not just when the focus is on Black authors. And we'll be adding books by authors of color to our collection. I just want to say that the staff of Grand Forks Public believes that our strength comes from the diversity of our community, and we want to celebrate that. So thanks, and next time I'll have a fun outro. Bye!